Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name is TJ. I'm here with Dan and Colin. We're back after a 2-week hiatus. The season of torture is finally over. How are you guys feeling?
Yeah, the pain's done. We're done for the year. And John Mara's trying to drag it a little bit further than after the season because he's sorry folks, but he's a big fucking idiot.
Yeah. TJ, you said it was a season of torture, but I feel like this season was less torturous than last season.
Yeah.
Last season, I was really struggling because Daniel Jones was clearly not the answer, but we had to fight all the people that thought he was the answer. This year, everyone realized he's not the answer. So we settled that battle early in the season. He got off the team. I was listening back to one of our pods. Colin was fantasizing about sending him off in a rocket ship. Sort of did that. That's like Minnesota. That's another planet. We didn't tank like we wanted to, but we tanked. We improved on our tanking since last year. We also aren't leaving generational quarterbacks on the table this year like we did last year. So I'm not feeling the FOMO like I did last year by the Tommy DeVito wins that really ruined it for us. So slightly less torturous is what I'm trying to say.
I somehow, and I don't know if it's just convincing myself after things have settled a little bit, but for some strange reason, I feel like not having the first overall is better. I don't know why, but it feels like it's more opened up.
Yeah, because you're assuming they're going to whiff on the pick, and so rather than having all the choices available to them, at least you could be like, well, they could only choose.
Yes.
Shador instead of, and they didn't have an even option to choose Cam.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And we've discussed a little bit on our text thread that the idea of trading back is the most fun at this point. But I don't know if that's even
depending on the scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, yeah, it has to be trading back to ultimately. It's like going 2 steps back to go 4 forward, and we'll see if that actually plays out.
Yeah, let's definitely talk about the draft a little bit, but let's start with the coaching. As usual, guys, please follow Big Blue United, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow BBO Podboards with a Z on Twitter. So, of course, the biggest news. I'm very happy to be back talking to you guys with something to talk about.
Yes.
With the New York Giants. It's a good feeling. Shane and Dable are staying. John Mara announced with a press release or whatever you want to call. What do you call that now? Like you just do an Instagram post? Is that a press release? Either way, it's keeping Shane and Dable. A lot of mixed feelings, I think, amongst Giants fans. Where are you guys at?
Well, I was very happy when it was first let out. I was like, I said that was going to go that route a couple of weeks ago, and there were so many people, whether it was on Twitter, whether it was just having conversations with people personally, they all didn't believe me. They're like, no, they're both getting fired. That's what's going to happen. I'm like, no, you don't understand John Mara as a person. He reads his press clippings. He's sick of being the guy who's constantly turning over the front office, and he's not going to do it just for no other reason than because he thinks that everybody is going to assume that's the way he was going to go, fire everybody. So that, for better or worse, it actually works out, I think, in collectively the 3 of our favor, not pretty much everybody else. There's been so many people that just wanted to go the scorched earth and start over again. And I feel like they just don't understand how that, I think, would set us back that much further.
Yeah. I agree. Usually I'm the guy that's saying all that stuff about consistency is overrated. But I think, as we said through the entire sort of 3 years, it's sort of impossible to assess the team at a level when you don't get baseline quarterback play, at least offensively. Defensively is a different story. I think it was very up and down. I think the beginning of the season they played well, and then injuries piled up, and we couldn't score more than 20 points, and losses stacked up, and a lot of stuff probably happened inside. Defense wasn't reaching expectations anyway, but prior year under Wink, I thought the defense was pretty good. And the question's been the offense, and I think you're going to commit to those guys when you did. you have to sort of see it through when they're totally under control. I thought that was an interesting fact that Joe Shane brought up in his presser about his first season as GM, when it was essentially just him and Brandon Brown, and the rest was the old front office crew. So although they got to draft, they didn't really have their systems in place, have everything ready to go the way they wanted to. And I think the sense is that they're finally getting it, ironed out and the system running the way they wanted. And, they can point to the successful 2024 draft, where a lot of the players they've selected are contributing both in the draft and in the free agency. So, I obviously wasn't happy with how the season turned out, but I don't blame them given the talent on the team. I think there are some pieces, and I'm interested and anxious to see what they do this year, especially with the evaluation of the quarterback.
So I think there's a few questions I want to ask you guys just about sort of this change. Now, Shane and Dibble both have 2 years left in their contract. Mara said in his presser that, changes would have to be, or, the product would have to be better sooner than later. Do you think that this is a 2-year leash for Shane and Dable, or are they going to have to make the playoffs this year, or is it just some sort of improvement to keep their job to the end of the contract?
Well, that's the infuriating part, because as anybody who read the quotes or saw the video of Mara's reaction and just telling the press what he felt about the decision that was made, it was one sentence one way, the next sentence the other way, and it felt like he was lost and he had no idea what he actually really wants. What he should have done is just, this was the right way. I listened to both of their plans, and we really want to see this out, instead of being like, I really like what they're doing, but I'm really impatient. You can't stand here next year and say the exact same thing. It's like, I get it, you're frustrated, but you need to be behind these guys if you're going to give them the vote of confidence to keep them on another season, if it's just another season. It's what I think he's going to do. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, they have another year. I don't think. Go ahead.
I don't think John Mara knows. I think evidenced by the conflicting quotes. He's a guy that is a wholly sort of unimpressive human generally. I don't think he has a plan. I think the major issues that this front office and coaching staff has faced is due to a lot of his meddling. I think we all suspect that that's why a lot of the decisions made in years past regarding Saquon and Daniel Jones were made, is because of trying to honor whatever convoluted morality or principles or guidelines that Mara tries to implement on the team. I think if he was being honest, he was saying he would take some accountability, which he didn't. He just says, they made a good case. It would be nice if he could back that up with something that they said that inspired him to believe in them. But I don't think he knows. He's just, got a hunch feeling, and he goes on hunch feelings because I don't think he cares about appearances, but he doesn't care about putting in the work as an owner to understand the team and understand how to fix it. It's something he was born into. He doesn't know what it takes. Otherwise, I'm sure he was, at the country club when Wellington was running the show, effing around at, frat parties and sailing yachts and stuff. And then, when his dad died, he was like, oh, I guess I can finally take a look at this football team we got here.
He's basically George Bush.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Take that as you will. I mean,
just to stay on the subject, do you guys think the Giants will ever, improve with guys like Kevin Abrams and Chris Mara still and at positions of power within this organization?
Well, the last 15 years, for the most part, say no. I'd say that the winning that this team has done with these guys in their positions, whether it was, many promotions ago to now, it was all to spite them. I think they really don't know what the hell they're doing, and it is ultimately the obstacles that are preventing this club from being consistently competitive. And I have this argument with my dad all the time, and his retort is, well, there's nothing that's going to be done about it. And I tell him, well, then get used to this team sucking until something gets done about it, because that's the reason this is the way it is.
Yeah, and I got to believe that those two and who's the other nephew?
Tim McConnell.
McConnell, yeah. Not only are they probably incompetent or not at the level of their peers across other franchises, but I believe that they are the sort of puppets of Mara, of ownership, in the sense that when he's got an inkling or he wants to see something done, he talks to his nephew and brother, and they implement that on his behalf. So I think that's where a lot of the meddling happens. Even if those guys think it should be the other way around, they're going to be like, the only one that can get me out of this job is the big dog, and so I'm going to run his errands for him.
I feel so bad for Shane and Dable. However, I do feel really almost vindicated for Dable in particular, because I think one of the main reasons, and this has been said by multiple people on social media, that I think he feels like, well, here you go. You saw this season? I told you we needed a quarterback, and it wasn't the guy that was number 8.
Yeah.
And here's what happened. So you can't fire me, because I did all I could with the dookie, the quarterback dookie that was handed to me in that room. So give him a shot to actually get a guy that he can work with, or he feels like he can work with. And I don't know, maybe allow Shane to actually make that happen, instead of being forced to do things that you don't want to do, like give a contract to a guy that won one playoff game. And that's a conversation we've gotten into pretty deep. But
we read it his first season. We could tell that he wanted his own quarterback from his first season there, and he was willing to work with Daniel Jones, and they got put in a bad spot by winning too many games, and that playoff game set the franchise back. We've said it a gazillion times, but I think Dable knew from day one that Daniel Jones isn't going to be able to execute an offense like the way he wants it. And also, we should get ahead of all that stuff about Dable not being produced without Josh Allen. Like, I think take that. It's a consideration, but I think there's enough tape study to see the play design and see the decisions that the quarterbacks have been making, and then you juxtapose it to like when Tyrod Taylor came in the game and see how effective the offense was. Anyway,
and that plays into like not being so tethered completely to the idea of getting the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft. Like, that is not the end all do all. Would it be great to get one of them? Sure, but given his quarterback whisperer reputation, it's not the final result that needs to happen. You just need to find someone that's serviceable and can win some games. If that means a game manager as a bridge quarterback, so be it. Just start winning some games. Like, in years past, we've been very upset over some draft picks here and there. And I feel like we have to have like almost more of a pragmatic look at this draft in particular. And like I said before, the 3rd pick is not a bad spot to be in, whether that means if you need to trade up, which is not a great situation. I'd say I'd be happy with trading up for Cam, but not Shador at this point.
Shador?
That's actually how you pronounce it. Yeah. It's not Shooter.
No. Shador.
It's Shador.
You've been pronouncing it wrong for 2 years, TJ.
Well, it's a common theme in my life and on this podcast, so it's okay. Thibodeau. Before we jump into the future at quarterback in the draft, I want to ask you guys one more question regarding Joe Shane in particular. Do you think that he's going to go out and spend too much money in free agency to compensate for being on the hot seat and what Mara said?
I don't think so, because I think he's smarter than that. That is a knee-jerk reaction for a Jerry Reese or a Dave Gettleman, like playing first.
They both did. They
did. They felt like they had to. I don't think Shane feels like he has to. I think he'll make some signings. I think he'll try to make a splash at key positions, but I don't think he's going to get crazy with it. And it's hard to have your patience as a fan because there's some people that are just like, oh, what is he doing? Why isn't he making more moves? We have so many holes. I don't know. It's tough to say like how much rope to give a guy, but like everybody keeps forgetting how screwed the two of them were coming into this situation.
Yeah.
They're still digging themselves out.
Yeah. I think the team is in better position than they ever have been, from a team building perspective right now. But I guess as far as like, spending all his resources and just going crazy in free agency, maybe we got to take his word for it right now in that press conference when he said he wouldn't be doing that. I hope that's true. I hope he's, strategic about what he does and, does that thing that all the good teams seem to do is, not go crazy buying on day 1, 2, 3 of free agency and wait till like 2 weeks later when you're like, oh, this guy's available for veteran minimum.
Bargain. Yeah.
Like, let's do that stuff. And spend money on some blue chip guys, preferably on the offensive line, preferably maybe, a solid veteran quarterback, depending on our, strategy in the draft. But, those impact positions, corner, offensive line, quarterback, spend on those guys. And then, I think they're getting the hang of it. And I think they did well, even this year in free agency. Like, of course, the undrafted free agents, those were pretty good this year. But I think, the construction of the offensive line, the first, 6 games of the season was excellent. Like, that was working how we wanted it to work. Then injuries came through and guys faded and stuff fell apart. But I think they're figuring out a methodology and a plan, and that I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's not going to, go crazy and just fit, round poles into square holes. I don't remember like those, but
nice rhyming. I couldn't agree more. I think this is the first time that we've actually gotten a decision from ownership that actually makes sense. It played into it. He's an egomaniac, so unfortunately he's going, I think, into his ego, but it actually plays in our favor this time. And by ego, it's that ass backwards. Well, they think I'm not going to do this. Well, I'm going to do it. Okay, great. Well, it works this time, and I hope it works out. It didn't work out with McAdoo or Judge and Shermer and obviously Gettleman. So it's like
should have listened to McAdoo though.
Well, with Mahomes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he wouldn't have been able to. He wouldn't have been the good coach for him, though. I don't think that would have worked out.
They didn't do bad stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Andy Reid is a fat genius. So.
Not a great father, though.
Wasn't going to go there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Anytime someone says he's a great coach, I'm like, well, not he wasn't a good life coach for his children.
Anyone doesn't know, Google it.
You can't throw a touchdown pass to get out of a DUI. Fortunately, I know you guys probably want to talk about the draft and the quarterback.
Whatever.
No, I mean I have other coaching questions.
Yeah, go for it.
I want to talk about offensive and defensive coordinator for a minute. My first question is, we see that Kafka is getting head coaching consideration. I think he's getting interviewed by the Bears.
Confusing
in the next few days. Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, what has he really shown? What has this offense shown that you think he deserves to be, a head coaching in a position to be a head coach in the NFL?
Not a goddamn thing.
Yeah, right.
I think for the same reason we're excited about him getting hired is the reason he's getting interviewed is because people need to satisfy the Rooney rule.
Isn't he white?
No, he qualifies as a Rooney rule candidate.
How? Oh, is he part Asian or something?
I think he's like part some sort of Latin, Hispanic. So we would get 2 third-round picks if we went, and other teams need to interview a certain amount of qualifying coaches for the Rooney rule.
No shit.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, you wouldn't think it with a name like Kafka. I mean, what is that, Polish or something?
He qualifies just like I guess Mike McDaniel's a little bit more legitimate claim to it, but
he's part Puerto Rican apparently.
Yeah.
Wow, wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Well, good
Okay.
job there, Dan. That's one thing I would not have even thought of. So yeah, there you go. That's the reason. That's the only reason. Because otherwise, he's not been in control of an
He's been
offense.
neutered as an offensive coordinator, and
He's like, what's his
for an
name?
offense that's been bottom of the league.
He's like what's his Eric Bieniemy, but like not like he's not.
Yeah,
even
man,
as
he
good as
washed
that.
out of the NFL. He's what is he? The offensive coordinator for UCLA or something like that now?
Is that what
Some
he
college team. I forget.
Woof.
Yeah, I think that's right, TJ.
Yeah, it's just it's an odd situation. Although I know we were hearing rumors about I mean when I was the only kind of evidence I was seeing for Kafka to be getting a head coaching job was mentioning like 2002. It's 2004. It's the NFL. You know, you're only as good as the last beer you poured. It's ridiculous to bring up ancient history.
Is that
these
a
terms?
biz term, TJ?
It sure is, Dan. But we did see a little bit of Davis Webb rumors, which I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
That he proved himself, at least it seemed anyway, as that quarterback that will never really see the field, but everybody ranted and raved about how smart he was with the playbook. And you like to hear that. And the fact that we pulled him away from coaching for that one last time of being a backup. Wasn't that he had one foot in Buffalo as a coach, and he decided to play one more time. So it's cool to see that he's doing well in Denver. I mean, obviously Bo Nix is far better than any of the three of us could have imagined him being.
Right.
I mean, he's not spectacular, but he's very good for their system.
He's been lighting it up.
Yeah, I mean, he was coached up well, and that's Davis Webb and Sean Payton for you.
Yeah,
So
those are good. It's a great case for him to get a shot in the familiarity
Is
with
he
Dable.
offensive coordinator of the
No, he's
Broncos
a
or the
QB
quarterbacks? Quarterbacks coach. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be. I mean, there's no that's an upper move, so they could poach him if they wanted to for that spot.
Yeah.
Defensive wise, guys, do you think Shane Bowen's going to get fired?
I mean, from Mara's quotes being very obvious how the defense was not good enough this year, which I don't know why you pinpoint one thing, because you automatically kept your offensive-minded head coach, so you went right to the defense. I mean, Bowen must have been packing his bags today or yesterday.
He has to be, right?
Um,
It's just a bad performance. I think they only had a couple good games, and that was mostly when he was blitzing a lot.
Yeah.
The Giants did lead the league in sacks for a brief period of time, but overall, it just wasn't there.
Well, it almost seemed like he rested on his laurels and thought that the blitzing in the beginning of the season was going to carry over to the performance for the rest of the season. But he stopped blitzing, and then he ended up putting out the most vanilla defense that anyone has ever seen. And I don't know if that was, because people were not grasping what he was trying to do. Like, I don't even know. I don't get it. It didn't make much sense to me. It turned into the Swiss cheese style defense of the Tim Lewis era of 15 years ago, if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, oddly enough, they did end up having a decent ranked pass defense. I think the worst in the league in rushing. But the secondary, it needs a lot of help at cornerback specifically. So I hope they address that. In terms of replacements for him, I have one name, Robert Saleh.
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 Yeah, Saleh.
Saleh.
Nice.
Whatever.
Yeah, I would love that, actually. I think that guy is the perfect example of a dude who should never be a head coach and should be a lifelong defensive coordinator. That's him.
Yeah, he did a great job with the Jets. Like, you see what happened to that defense the second he left the team. Even as a head coach,
garbage.
I think he's a great culture guy. He's a New York guy. It makes a lot of sense to me. I would prefer him over Antonio Pierce, even though I love Antonio Pierce.
I agree.
I think it'd be also really good for the culture potentially. You have a guy that seems energetic, seems positive for the most part. I don't know if he has any relationship with Dable, but I think you need to have a strong personality opposite him as well, but maybe someone that's not undercutting him like Wink was. But I think he's going to be highly coveted. No matter, I think a lot of people are going to want him, but it'd be cool if we could win him over, just maybe from the convenience factor.
I wonder, like, I mean, besides the obvious, who wouldn't be a defensive coordinator? I don't think, because he's going for a head coaching job. Is Vrabel? Vrabel obviously has the connection.
Oh
with,
yeah,
There's
Dable.
quite a few former defensive head coaches without jobs right now. Brandon Staley used to coach the Chargers. Vrabel, as you mentioned, Mike Zimmer, Dennis Allen, and then the guy from the Bears, Eberflus.
Eberflus.
Well, you also got Lou, whatever his name
Lou
is,
Anarumo.
from the Bengals, who was
Sure.
Who
They let go of Lou Anarumo.
Yeah, he's out there.
He's one of the best defensive coaches. Yeah, I guess that there's a lot to choose from. Maybe we don't choose wrong. Lou Anarumo would be great. I think. What was the other one I had in my head? Come back to me.
Like Aaron Glenn.
No, he's gonna go head coach.
Yeah, you're right. He won't do a lot.
Oh, this is my other idea. Remember how obviously Belichick is the head coach of UNC, but they essentially said it's just to like get his son that position.
God, that guy sucks. Steve.
Steve with the face.
Screw that guy with his mullet and his stupid mouth.
I think
all yacked out on the sideline.
If the Giants were to swindle Belichick back as D coordinator before the college football season starts, like after recruiting
hand off to his son and be like, "I'm out."
Yeah, he's like, NFL's calling. It's September. That'd be hilarious. But
I mean, honestly, I would love more than anything to see Belichick at a defensive coordinator role before he's done coaching. Period. I think that would be so cool. Just go back, or say screw it. I'm going to do 1 year of D coordinator, and then I'm going to do 1 year of special teams coordinator, and then I'm going to retire.
Let him do both. Just do both.
I'm going to make a prediction that UNC will not win a national championship with Bill Belichick as the coach.
They'll be a better team.
Maybe.
I think so.
Under over 2 players they poached from the lacrosse team.
Oh, they're going to have at least 6.
I just can't see Belichick coaching college kids. He never liked young players. He was bad at drafting. He basically just signed old guys to play. Every free agency signing was an old guy.
Is he going to be in parents' living rooms?
Yeah, well, I mean, he doesn't even have to open his mouth. He's going to walk into the house and be like, "Yeah, okay, I'm going to go to your school." He's probably going to steal that player from Notre Dame. Just make him go to UNC for another year if he has enough. What's
Riley
his
Leonard?
Name? No, the wide receiver who was a star lacrosse player too. Faison or something.
Faison, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's not leaving Notre Dame. His brother is going to Notre Dame now too.
Oh.
Number 1 lacrosse recruit in the country for this year.
Cool.
And Somer's own Miguel
Iglesias. Yes.
Iglesias, number 25 in the country.
Yeah, that's going to be cool watching him play there.
Yeah.
Somers is where we went to high school for the listeners.
Yes. Our alma mater.
They know. Everyone knows the three-peat state champs in New York State.
Yeah, they probably do. They have to at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the coach really puts his arm out for him. Let's talk
about
what
if Tony DiMatteo coaches the defense, the New York Giants.
That would be the coolest thing of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I thought he was more of an offensive guy. The wing, 3 white guy wing T never fails.
The most confusing blocking schemes of all time. Well, for high school level, anyway.
Yeah. Let's jump, since we're going to run out of time. Let's jump into some draft. Giants have a 3rd overall pick. Where do you think the Giants should go? I mean, there's a lot of scenarios. Either Shudere is available, Cam Ward is available, or what? Shudere? It's not Shudere?
What is wrong with you?
How do you pronounce it?
Shador.
Okay, Shudere.
Shador.
We gotta have your father on this show at some point, and just
Tom Coughlin.
It'll just be like a shootout of mispronunciations.
My dad would always say Tom Coughlin. I was like, Dad, it's Tom Coughlin. I'm like, all right, yeah, so Tom Coughlin.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was just messing with me at that point, right?
Specifically, not to go segue here, but I specifically remember that Matthias Kiwanuka roughing the passer game against the Titans, Vince Young, when we were watching it at your house, and that's what the first time that your dad said Coughlin. I was like, what? That's not it.
I don't know, man. I'm sure he can't pronounce anything anymore. Either way. All right, so let's jump back into the draft.
Pronouncing things properly is what the woke left wants you to do.
That's exactly correct, Stan. My dad was telling me about a conspiracy theory where Diddy tried to poison Jamie Foxx and kill him, and I'm like, what kind of conspiracy theory is this? Like, what effect does this have on anything? Like, usually a conspiracy theory is, they're making the frogs gay, or the chemtrails, or doing something to our bodies, or the COVID microchips. What does Diddy poisoning Jamie Foxx have to do with anything?
I heard that one too. Everyone's got to get off Facebook. It's just got to.
It's the miserable place. It's horrible. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to the Giants real quick here. So if you end up, in my mind, there's three scenarios. Either at 3, you have Cam Ward, you have Sanders, or you have Travis Hunter, excuse me. And then, beyond that, you can pretty much do whatever you want at that spot. What do you think the Giants should do, early on in this process? I'm sure you guys have been reading up a bit, maybe not fully versed in the draft at this point, but preliminary thoughts?
Well, I mean, funny how the Pats kind of screwed us a bit by winning that last game and dropping one behind us. Now that we have 2 teams in front of us that really do need a quarterback. Will whatever his name is with the Tennessee I don't think he's it. And Cleveland is the black hole of quarterbacks since 1999. So 40, I think it's been 40 starting quarterbacks since then. So yeah, of course that it would take a miracle or one of them to be really stupid not to take either of the quarterbacks. So I'd like to say automatically got to trade up for that. So that in itself is probably not the best move.
Mm-hmm.
Staying, okay, Hunter falls right in our lap. Well, we need a cornerback bad. And it sure seems like it's possible, at least for the start of his career. The consensus is that he's probably going to be more of a cornerback with packaged offensive plays, almost similar to Dion back in the day. We'll see how that plays out, how he grasps the playbook and wherever he ends up going. But I wouldn't hate just taking him right there and just being like, all right, well, best player available. Maybe we didn't get enough offers for trading back that were worth our time, and we just have to roll with it. And then full court press on finding that bridge quarterback, or trading up maybe into the first or in the second for a quarterback there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are so many big pieces we don't know yet. I agree. The assumption would be that the Browns and the Titans would take a quarterback, but I think there's a strong chance that one of those teams might go the bridge route instead, as well. So we don't know. So if one of them, gets a legitimate quarterback before the draft, then we are in play for one of the top 2. Also think the top 2 is subject to change. I'd like to get more information through the pre-draft thing. There's been that buzz recently today with Drew Aller, the Penn State quarterback.
Yeah.
A lot of people believe, based on his skill set, his ceiling is higher than the other 2, and he was considering going into the draft if he can be guaranteed a top 3 pick.
Yeah.
So that'll sort of work itself out.
Is he a junior or a senior?
No, I think he's got at least another year of eligibility.
See, I feel like I'm sorry to interject, but I feel like he came out of nowhere, and I know Penn State is always.
He was highly touted last year too.
But it's Penn State. Penn State quarterbacks are tough, they don't work out.
He hasn't been overly, from what I gather, he hasn't been, lights out or anything, but he's, again, flash stuff that other guys don't do, like a lot of pro-ready size, decision-making, like passes that only certain guys can make kind of stuff.
Let's start researching.
And then I guess the thing about Travis Hunter is I still want to know more about him because, to be honest, I don't want just a good wide receiver and a good corner. Like if there's a definitively better cornerback, I would want him over Travis Hunter.
Like Will
I
Johnson.
don't think he can be an impact player at both positions in the NFL.
He'll
I
have
could
to
be
choose.
wrong. Yeah, like he could be, and I don't know. I just don't think. I don't know. He's obviously a freak athlete and one of the, just very, very cool player to have. But
Too gadget, like an Isaiah Simmons of the offensive situation.
I don't know. I would just yes, like I've seen that comparison. I'd like to see an evaluation on him as if he was two people and see where he'd rank as a wide receiver and where he'd rank as a if he's top 10, if he's like in the draft, if he's top 5 both, okay, maybe that. But if he's or if he's projected as like a wide receiver 3 in the NFL, like that's the number one pick.
I think that he's ultimately going to be a good NFL player, but I think that there's going to be too many teams that are like salivating over his athleticism that will want to trade up to 3, especially since he should probably go number 1 overall. I don't think Cam or Sanders are particularly like great quarterback prospects. They're the only good quarterback prospects in this draft. So they're quarterbacks, so they're going to go up early. But I think that there's going to be somebody who wants to trade up and go for him, and I think they'll give up a lot for it. And like Dan said, I don't think he's the best wide receiver or the best cornerback in the draft. Maybe 2 at both those positions, best case scenario. But in my mind, trade down and get Will Johnson, I think is the correct move for the Giants. Possibly use the draft capital you got to go out and get JJ McCarthy.
That's our dream, right?
Yeah, that's best case scenario, right? We're not really sure what's going to happen, but I think in a situation where Shannon Dable might be on the hot seat, I think they're going to want to get their quarterback of the future to show that they can develop the quarterback further on. So whether or not they go for a bridge guy, I mean, I would prefer they did. I just feel like they're going to at least go for somebody, bring in some youth and try to coach that player up to, show that the organization can improve, especially the quarterback position.
And no higher than a 2nd-round pick for JJ McCarthy. In my opinion, that's how that needs to go.
I mean, what did he go? 7?
Yeah.
Or
he
went 12. He went 12
overall.
Oh, yeah. Penix went 7 or 8.
Penix.
You're right.
I would. So the way to frame it too is also JJ McCarthy. I think is younger than Cam Ward.
2 years.
Yeah, and I think unanimously from everything I've read across any sort of like scouting player personnel people is that he would be easily the number 1 quarterback in this draft. He would still win it.
Wow.
So it seems like an obvious thing if we could give up a 2nd-round pick to get him, or I would again. The sort of the real ultimate fantasy thing, which there's no way you could project if they could do or not, but would be to trade down in this draft, acquire within the top 10, and then trade down again for a mid round pick in the top in the first round, and trade that for JJ McCarthy while acquiring draft capital. I mean, it's totally feasible, but I think if it's that obvious, there's going to be a lot of action. Like, we don't even know if they're going to make him available or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a lot of ways to go at it. And then we can even talk about, free agent quarterbacks available, existing. Like I still would be pretty psyched if we could get Justin Fields.
Yeah, it seems to be the consensus. Whether people like it or not, it seems that most
could have got him last year.
Well, yeah, but we're looking now. And it seems that.
But we said it on the pod.
We did. We say a lot of things. No one listens to a majority of them. Maybe they would start and things would look good. But it does seem that people envision Fields coming here.
I mean, he doesn't do anything that we want a quarterback to do in terms of like reading and processing and any of that. But I think he'd be a huge upgrade anyway.
Well, yeah, and you have Dable who wants a guy to develop like that, and that guy's still young. I mean,
and he had those capabilities coming out of college, and it somehow hasn't been developed. I mean, obviously, clearly in the Bears, he just was a disaster, but he played better, I think, with the Steelers this year. Again, not sort of like the most progressive offense, especially with Arthur Smith, but I still think there's a lot of talent in Justin Fields, especially if you get him at a fair price and you can still develop a quarterback.
I'd love that. I'd love the idea of two young quarterbacks that can duke it out, who can also be developed at the same time, and whoever's the better one will end up starting. And
let's not talk about Duke and quarterbacks in the same
sentence. Yes. Never again. Yeah. That's a never again situation.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Cool. Anything else to add tonight, guys? Are we gonna who's gonna win the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah. I mean, right now, I would. There's two scenarios that I would like the most. Whether it's the Lions automatically in the Super Bowl, but Bills or Ravens to play them, I think is the way to go.
As long as Kansas City or Philadelphia is not in the Super Bowl, I'll be happy for the most part.
Who are the teams you're pulling for? Do you have any teams you're adopting for the
playoffs? I have the Lions for me. I would
Lions and Ravens.
Yeah.
I was like to root for the Ravens.
I'm going to root for the Bucks pretty hard.
Cool. Well, of
you're
course.
a Baker guy.
Baker, they're playing good football. Bills, Chargers maybe. Chargers I really like.
Chargers would be fun, only because they play an old school style, much to Justin Herbert's chagrin. Although if he keeps winning, it doesn't matter. He doesn't have to throw the ball 1,000 times. Running the ball is pretty fun when it works.
He's better in an offense where they're not throwing as much anyway.
It's true.
I mean, he had a little bit of a regression as his career went on when sort of everything kind of fell on his shoulders a little bit, like last year.
Oh, and the everyone's most hated Koala Man just got signed by the Chargers today.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott?
Yeah, that dope.
Ewok boy.
Yeah, I hate his guts.
He does look exactly like an Ewok.
It's uncanny, honestly.
Midriff dickhead.
Midriff dickhead. Is that the name of the pod? Thank you guys for listening. You can follow Big Blue United on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us, BBU, the Pod Boys, with a Z on Twitter to hear when our new podcasts come out. You can, of course, email Dan, bigblueunitedpodcast@gmail.com. He's waiting for you.
We're getting through the stack. Almost there.
Trying to talk shit.